Stop Working Broke podcast, hosted by Chad Murray. If the anxiety never shuts off, you're buried in jobs, chasing checks, and your phone goes quiet the second you stop pushing, you're not alone. Here, you'll get real clarity and straight advice to calm the chaos, fix the systems, tighten your team, and create steady leads. Because freedom starts when the anxiety stops running the business. Let's get going. Thank you for coming to Stop Working Broke podcast. I am Chad Murray, your host, and I am the most today because here's what we're going to talk about today. The 10 strong business owner pain points that most businesses are stuck at, or owners are at, that they need to help. They need help with, coming out of this mindset of where they've been at for years and all that. So, here they are. Let's start. We're gonna go down the list. I'll tell you the list first, then we'll break it down. So this is gonna be an exciting episode because this might be you. And if one of these strikes a chord with you, well, always, and the reason why I do the podcast is I want to help as many people as possible. So if you're not seeking help to help any issues, unless you run a perfect business, go ahead. Make an appointment with me. Go ahead. Go to my website, Stop Working Broke. Go ahead and click on make an appointment with me, and come on, let's solve one of your biggest issues for free. And then if we come up with a plan, we'll start working together. So either way, let's talk about the 10 strong business pain points. Number 1, the employee that owns the owner. It's just one of those ones that if you've got that one employee who is literally you don't think you can live without, you think you owe them. They're running the business. Maybe they're good culture. Maybe they're not. But either way, let's just say that they're a good employee. Well, the fact of the matter is you shouldn't have the company, the whole business rely on one person regardless. So that if you have a good employee like that, well, you need to start helping them be a better person for your business and make them so where they can spread. Now, let's just say they're not a good employee and you're handcuffed to where you think you owe them. The culture has stopped. If you ever track numbers and you're not, and their numbers are going down or they're not as good as they used to be, yet you just feel like I could not operate this business without this person. Well, guess what? You can. So let's go to number 2. Why service companies get stuck at 2 million. The why. There's lots of whys. But generally, the bottleneck is you. And you just got to start knowing how to run a business. Like, are you marketing correctly? Have you got a training process correctly? All that kind of stuff. Number 3, your technicians. I love this one. Number 3, your technicians don't care about profit. Why would they? You're paying them. They just care about sales and they just care about showing up to get a paycheck, right? But that's not true if you run your business correctly. We'll teach you and talk a little bit about that. Number 4, why your service manager runs the company instead of you. So that's if you're at that high level. That's kind of similar to number 1. Number 5, why marketing isn't your real problem. It's funny. I literally lowered my marketing, raised my training, spent more money on training, and made more money. 2021 is a prime example. I spent almost $100,000 on training and equipment that year, and it literally, we went up 10% in profit and ROI. All right, number 6, the best technician is killing your company. Why is he killing your company? Well, we'll discuss it. Number 7, you're busy every day, but the money isn't there, right? Why isn't the money there? We got to learn about that. Number 8, you can't hire good people because the company isn't built for them. Like, you think too small. You don't try to attract the high class person. It's funny. Most people in service business don't even try to attract what they consider like college educated people, when the fact of the matter is it's the opportunity you might be giving somebody is the real thing. And we'll be talking about that here in a little bit. I was about to give it up, but I got some stuff to say about that. Number 9, you don't have a lead problem. you have a calendar problem. I actually just posted on this one if you follow me, and it's a good little chat to talk about. And then number 10, most service business owners are pricing jobs like employees, not owners, which means at the end of the day, you're not making the money you should, and everybody's mindset is to sell it for this because they can't see what it takes to make profit. So we'll be talking about that. So let's go back there. The employee that owns the owner, which is similar to your best technician is killing the company. Number 6. So let's talk about 1 and 6. So you're going to have this employee that you feel handcuffed by, and we're gonna stay at the negative side of this, not the good one. The good one I kind of explained in the beginning a couple of minutes ago, but let's talk about the bad apple. The guy that shows up late. He's your best guy. You know that you've had for years, and his attitude's gone. His numbers aren't good. He's definitely not the person that you hired. He's got fatigue. He's showing up for the job and a paycheck, and that's about it. And yet you feel like you owe them. The one thing I have to tell everybody, and you need to understand this right away if you own a business, you owe nobody nothing. You owe them zero. Why? Because they render services for you and you pay them. There is no other spiffs outside of that. You might bonus, that's a payment. You might do this, that's a payment. You might do that. Whatever it is, might offer them a trip, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. That is your payment. There is nothing at any time do you owe anybody. If you start taking favors, shame on you. Don't do it. Don't have someone do something for free for you. Don't, whatever. If they work extra, pay them for it. The main thing is make sure that you are not handcuffed by the fact that this person is declining and you feel like the business couldn't run without you or out them. Because it can. I have literally let go of my entire sales staff. I have let go of managers. And guess what? The company will go on. It will. I don't care if you're a three-person company and you fire both of your employees. Guess what? You're not firing yourself. You'll make it. And by the way, when you put yourself in that situation, guess what happens? Action. Because you got to do something. So action starts to occur and you start finding the right people, or at least you have to learn how to find the right people, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. Why service companies are stuck at 2 million? I mean, it's simple. Or 1 million. There are plateaus that happens. And it's just like we just talked about. Change is so hard. But change in a business is necessary because if you're not growing, you're dying. And I don't care what anyone says. I mean, everybody who says they don't change, believe me, they pivot. They do change. They find new products. They don't understand what change really means. But to stay innovative in this world, you have to change. And like AI's out there. Things about. I had a meeting today with a new client. He was talking about how he needs AI. And I'm like, well, yes. But there's a lot of other stuff we need to do before we even look at AI. But AI definitely will be a part of what we're going to start coaching you on. But but really, those plateaus you got to learn to run through. I'll be honest with you. I was stuck at the 5 million. I could not get past the 4.5, 5 million. I just well, let me take that. It's not that I couldn't. I hadn't because I ended up selling the business. So I would have broken through that. And it would have absolutely required me going back a little bit more time on my half to get us to break through it. And then I would have gone back to doing my 15-minute to 30-minute calls a day. And that's about it. But I would have had to I would have had to break some barrier to do that. And that's just some things that you have to do. Or hired some more high-level people, which I was in the middle of doing at that time. So, but that is, there's just change and pivoting is definitely part of why people get stuck at the 2 million. So, all right, this is that big one. God, I love this one. Technicians just don't care about profit. You know why? Because they don't understand it. When they go out and invoice $5,000, they think you're making $5,000. You go out and invoice $25,000, they think you're making $25,000. They don't understand money. You might not even understand money. That might be the problem too. More than likely it is. You don't understand finances. You don't understand job costing. You don't understand, what ROI is off your marketing. Like, you have fixed assets and fixed bills that when you job cost, you've got to have a number in there for that. So let's say if your average uh, jobs you do a week is 10 and you're doing those 10 jobs at, let's just say, well, easy numbers, 5K. Okay, well, that's 50K a month or a week, right? So you're doing that. And if you job cost that and you're at, let's just say, 35% gross margin, that it does not account, gross margin does not account your truck payments, your insurance, your workman's comp, your electric bill, your phone bill, your rent, your mortgage on the business, all that. So next thing you know, 35% becomes a negative 20 or negative 10%, and you're actually in business losing money. I've had that a lot. So you have to teach people that when they're bidding to come up with an average amount of jobs that they're doing to account for job costing on the fixed bills that they have. And when you do that, so you come up with, let's say rent and everything else comes, I'm just going to say all your other bills come up to $20,000 a month. Well, that's $5,000 a week, right? Divided by 4. So 20 divided by that. So in a week. So I have to account now for 5,000 if I'm going to take the 10 jobs. So I've got to account for $500 in fixed bills inside of my job costing. So a little bit of numbers there. So when you do that, and then by the way, you can only plan. You don't know how many jobs you're going to do exactly every month, every week. So you have to plan on what your average is to kind of come up with that number. And if you would know, if you're having a light week, you might raise it up to 100 or 750 instead of 500 for each job. And if you're having a busy week, you might take it down to 300. You kind of know, because you know the number to play with to try to help yourself get to a gross margin of at least 45 to 60%. So every business is a little different, but the because your employees don't know about all this stuff, and you've got to figure out what you want to get on gross margin so that you can account for all this stuff. So most businesses try to do a 50% gross margin. That's a starting point. Yeah, that's your goal, and then you just try to improve it from there. And so I've seen businesses up to 65% gross margin, and so making tons of money. And then I've seen guys that aren't making any money and their gross margin is probably around 30 to 35% because they didn't know any better. So yeah. So super important to start to get to know. When they say know your numbers, you got to know your a lot of numbers here, and that's not what this podcast episode is about. But we got into the profit scenario, so you got to figure that out. So okay, all right, and then why your service manager runs the company instead of you. That's an interesting one because I did have my service manager became a general manager, run my company. And that is something that you want to make sure. If I were to go back, I would have probably done this. John, my general manager, who for years was there and still there, who ran my company as a general manager, I would have probably put someone above him as a general manager, paid him the same, but made him the production manager. I don't want someone a little higher level, a little bit person who knows the numbers a little bit more, who knows the gross margins and all that kind of stuff, and they could have ran that company. We probably would have broke through without me having to come back 5, 6, 7 million. But I didn't. I love my life the way I did it. I don't regret it. But if I were to redo, that's what I would have done. So, okay. All right. Number 5. Why marketing isn't your real problem. I love this one. So I learned how to train much better. And by training everybody to sell better and knowing my numbers, by taking the same amount of appointments that we had and averaging what we have every year, and hopefully spending more on and growing more technicians to have more appointments. But there was a time when we were doing 6 to 8 appointments a day per sales guy. Well, then we learned it. We went down to 3, but we trained them heavily on a sales process. And with that sales process, all of a sudden, we didn't have to have as many appointments to make the same money. And then because we didn't really mark it down, we stayed the same. We did mark it down a little bit, but that's when we really went from 3 to 4 million, was just by training better. And the marketing was never a problem. Our marketing is, not really ever a problem. So the things you're going to want to do is you want to make sure that your call center closing ratios, you got to start tracking this. If you don't have call rail or something or some way to track the number, if they're real opportunities, you take your opportunities divided by how many, take your potential opportunity phone calls divided by how many they close and actually schedule. And then, so in the call center, you probably want a 70% or better percentage rate on closing. And I come to find a lot of times I'm coaching that they have a very low, like, oh, we schedule half of every call that comes in, or they tell me we schedule everything. And then when we actually track it, they're scheduling 50%. They're below the average of whatever their niche is. And so, we start tracking that. And then all of a sudden we then get not the marketing, we get the sales up. Now all of a sudden we are scheduling more appointments because of training. We're now selling better and selling more price or better pricing with less jobs, and we're making more money, but we're still scheduling out, so we not hire more people. So that's how we went from 3 to 4, over $4 million, almost $4.5 million, and we did it without adding more marketing. So marketing is generally not a problem. Now, if you're not spending at least 8% annually on marketing, well, then you can't complain of why you're not growing or why you're not doing anything or why things wrong, because you're not spending any money on getting more clients. So that's where it is a problem. If you're not doing a customer acquisition enough to fuel more sales, well, then that's a problem in itself. Marketing becomes your real problem because you haven't got the mindset to spend any money to understand marketing's free, because you spend $1 and you get 5 out of it. That $1 is nothing. So you go spend 10 grand a month, which, holy shit, people, you own a service company, you spend 10 grand a month, but you go and make 150K off that 10 grand. Does 10 grand sound like anything anymore? No, it's free. You made 140 grand. Gross, but still, that's a big difference. All right. 7. We skipped 6. We did that number 1. You're busy every day, but the money ain't there, right? Well, that's because you're not scheduling for profits. Now we get into the system of actually using your time more wisely, or whoever your technicians are, time more wisely. For instance, I have seen everyone's number 1 employee, skilled, best sales guy, best production guy, going out on crap calls, redo calls, looking at stuff. And it's like, so why is that guy doing that? And you're probably saying, well, because that's the guy who has the experience. Well, who cares? Then you go do it, or find a manager to go do it. Let that guy make you money. And then when you start understanding that the busy schedule and you start adding up, you literally put a number to the schedule. Most CRMs don't do this properly. Like if you're in ServiceTitan, Jobber, House Call Pro, none of these do it properly. Service Galaxy does. Little deal right there. If you get a Service Galaxy, we will have a report that'll tell you exactly what you have on production for this week. So anyway, you look at your production number, and if your break-even point is, we'll go back to the 50K, and you're only scheduling 45K, well, how much money do you think you're losing a week? Probably more than that, because you got bills into that. You're probably losing 15 grand, maybe 20 grand a week. And you know it, but you don't know it, and you don't know why. It's always funny when people tell me, I don't know why I'm losing money. That's because, well, then I ask one simple question. Well, do you know what your break-even point is a week? And do you manage that? Yet they're booked out for 6 weeks or even 3 months. And it's like, well, you're booked out 3 months, and every week you're scheduling to lose money. And they look at me and they're like, it's that easy? And I'm like, yeah, let's count the money every week as it's occurring, by the way, every day. You count the money that's being scheduled, and then you know what your bills are. So then so this is how easy it is. You literally, let's say you want to make 25% profit, and you know what your gross margin is. You get it to 50. And if that 50 built in is going to make you 20%, 25% overall, well, then all you have to know is what to schedule every week, essentially. So if to schedule $62,529 makes you 25% profit over the year, well, then that's your goal, to schedule that much that each week. And of course, you won't do it every week. Some weeks you'll a little bit more. Some weeks you'll be way under that. But you know your number to hit. And by the way, so does the call center. So does the sales guys. Everybody's brain is in the game now. And when everybody's brain is in the game, everybody's a unit together. You become a machine. Everybody wants to hit their numbers. I can't tell you how many Thursdays that my general manager, would be scrambling to find $10,000. And you know what? He'd do it every time. He'd go squeak 10 grand. Now it would hurt us in the future, but hey, we're good business. We filled those holes later. But we go find a $10,000 job. We slap it on this week somehow, and then we hit our numbers. Boom, we making money. So it's really interesting to look at people's schedules and go, oh man, you must be making a shitload of money. You're rich. And you look at them, they're about to cry, like, we're not making any money. And it's shocking to them, that they think that you think they're busy, and they are busy, but they're just not making any money. And the main thing is they're just not making money because they just aren't scheduling right. And that's just an easy thing to fix pretty quick. And so we do that pretty fast. So, okay. Number 8, you can't hire good people because the company just isn't built for them. So let's talk about that. That's where your expectation of your business is usually lower than what you would hire. So meaning, like, you're not going out there to look for educated college people or A player salespeople because you think my services won't attract that people. Well, that's because you're not offering an opportunity for that. I mean, I'll give you the perfect example. I know of people that own $1 million plus window washing businesses that have sales guys that go out there and kill it and sell $1 million, and those sales guys are making $200,000 a year selling window washing. Now they got a little bit commercial, a little bit of residential in there, but who would think about, why would I go work for a window company washing windows? Well, you're not washing windows. You're out there selling windows and finding it, and you're finding people that know the commercial B2B market to elevate you, to get you in, maybe you'll get trained. But even if you're going in the houses, or even small businesses, window fronts. I mean, the market is out there. Everybody has windows, and companies that have front windows, there is the side of their business, right away they want them clean, and employees don't do it good enough. So I mean, it's out there. So point is, you wouldn't think about going to find an A player deal now, and you might not. You probably wouldn't even attract them just for the fact of saying window washing. But what if you put an ad out there and just said $200K possible first year, endless, unlimited leads, or go create your own B2B business. We will help you and do it under your own name versus your company name, and watch you get employees. Tell them, or not employees, get applicants. Tell them what the opportunity is, about how, what you would do, how easy it is. Everybody has windows, and you might just attract an A player person. Now, we did this last year. We had a guy, a good technician for me would sell $100,000 a month, 25K a week. A little bit less, a little bit more, but 25K is we consider a good technician. And in the wintertime, they can go up from there. Well, I went and found a guy who is already in the space of doing high ticket, was already trained in sales, in remodeling, kitchens, bathrooms, mainly kitchens and bathrooms, actually. And he was used to selling $30,000 jobs all day long. Never, ever thought about anything more than selling 30K jobs. It was just his common practice. Well, in the chimney industry, a lot of people are hard. They can't see selling a $30,000 job. So I have to train people in understanding what the prices are, get through it, that they can't afford it. You're not your avatar of our business clients. So understand the people that we're selling to have the money to do this, and we also have creative financing, blah, whatever. I have to train all that into it. But when you guy walk in and goes, 30 grand, that's no big deal. We can sell that all day long. And he's already ready to go. Yeah, the guy was selling $200,000 a month. Month one. Month one out in the field, once we got trained, 200 grand. It was actually first, I'm sorry. Month one, he did $248,000 in sales in chimneys. And who would have thunk it? Chimneys? I can go out there and sell chimneys or fireplace remodels? Literally? That's it? I mean, boom, there you go. So it starts with you. If you don't have an opportunity, you're going to need to create one, and then maybe go out there and prove it yourself, and then have a sales process, and then train somebody into it that has a high level thought. Doesn't matter what you are. Maid services, doesn't matter. I don't care. Chimney sweeps, maid service, all these things that you wouldn't think you could make a lot of money. Well, create the opportunity for them, and it will happen. And so you will find better people. And so, I mean, like Masons, like we went and found Masons, back 7 or 8 years ago, probably 9 years ago. Couldn't find Mason for 20 years. Just you never good luck. Finally found one. Boom. Changed our business. Started doing bigger jobs, better jobs. Started doing remodels, which we didn't do before. So anyway, all right. Number 9. You don't have a lead problem. You have a calendar problem. Well, that kind of goes to the same thing that we talked about with the scheduling stuff. But lead problem, let's talk about it's because you learn how to learn. Let's say you now learn to do the calendar. Well, it now comes down to training. So let's talk about Tommy Mello. So this guy, who is the biggest guy in the garage door business, and sold out to private equity. How was it very easy for him to sell to private equity and still own? He's been diluted, but I think he still owns the company at some portion. But he's made hundreds of millions of dollars. Why? Because he could take a technician. He built a training facility. He could take a technician from knowing nothing about a garage, and within 2 weeks, maybe less, he'd be the best garage door technician out there. He knew everything about garage doors, and then put him out in the field and then bang it out. So, I mean, think about that. Training. I mean, I always find out when people are coaching with me and we start going through a little bit of a lull with their business, it's because, and we're working on all this back end stuff and doing all this stuff. And they start telling me that, they're not making money like they were, like when they first started with me and started doing stuff. And I go, well, and I don't check up on them enough. Are you doing the sales training meetings? And they always tell me no, or not like we used to. It's like, okay, well, time to revisit. And we start doing more trainings, more touches, make sure we're touching them more, meaning we're calling them up, maybe calling up and going, hey, I got to think about it, rebuttal, and then people do it. And so you start keeping it on top of mind, making everything conversational. But training is the deal. Tommy Mello sold his business mainly, not only because he was a large garage door business, but he had a training facility to churn out good people and learn how to do everything they do, because training is that important. I guarantee you're not spending enough money on training or time. People are like, I can't take a day off, or can't take a week off, or can't take 2 days off to train. I'll lose all this money. No, wrong mindset. You need to train to make more money. And if you don't, if you're in this vicious cycle in your mind, not in reality, reality is you're not going to make any money that day that you do that, or that week. But it should, if you do the right training, sales, maybe a better process to make things faster. I mean, all this kind of stuff, you should make that money back within the month. I mean, otherwise you did really crappy training and you did waste your time. So there's the fears of that. But I mean, that's why you spend a little money, get the right type of training going. Make sure you plan it properly. Make sure everybody's engaged and excited, because they get to come off the field and come and learn some stuff. Everybody, believe it or not, for the most part, wants to learn. And that's where you start learning, well, maybe it's just not that. So that kind of leads us to number 10. Most service owners are pricing jobs like employees, not owners. So after the training, you got to start working on your pricing, and you got to strategically price it, because you're not pricing it for ROI. You're not pricing it for job costing to where you're going to get gross profit margins of 50% or better. And you have to really finicky get into your numbers and look at past jobs, and you got to go, why did it do this? Forensic analysis of why you're not making money, and the realization of going down that path and seeing it opens your eyes, because what you thought was doing a job for $10K, and the reality is you're making $500, and you're like, holy crap, $10K to make $500? That sucks. I have a guy right now, cabinet maker in Northern Illinois. He literally changed his prices on his main couple features he does. He was selling them for $8,000 kitchen refacings, not full remodels, refacings. I guess that means doors. I'm not exactly sure. I think it was taking the door, getting new doors, little paint job, uh, and maybe some new countertops, but not a complete remodel. And doing that fast in 3 days. And he would do it for $8,000 was his average ticket. And I showed him the numbers. He's like, I should be charging like $15,000 to $18,000. So he calls me up like maybe 2 days later. It was really fast. This was in December of 2025, and calls me up and goes, I got one for $15,000, and I thought of you. What would Coach Chad say? And I raised it to $1,800, and the people didn't even blink, bought it. He goes, I would have sold that 3 days ago. I would have literally sold that 2 days ago for $8,000, and he sold it for $18,000. And it was just because he needed, once he knew he wasn't making any money, he knew he had to sell it for more. It doesn't matter what your competitors are selling it for. It doesn't matter what the market is. You got to know your own numbers. And when you know your numbers, you're going to believe in what you need to sell things for. And that's the key, people. Do you believe? And when you believe, you can sell it for whatever you need to sell it for. Doesn't matter what the market bears. You sell it for what you need to sell it for. So there's your 10 strong things that most business owners struggle with and to do it. So by the way, a little deal here. I would like to meet with you. If you have not ever had a meeting with me or not worked with me before, I'm calling you to action. I want you to go to stopworkingbroke.com and click there's make an appointment and schedule with me. Let's find out which point is yours and let's fix it this month. Not later, not think about it. Pick up your mouse, click on my website and click to make an appointment, show up open-minded, and let's fix your business. Let's get your business right. Let's get it making money. The fastest thing I do for people is make money right. Now that's not, everyone thinks that's what the goal is. No, we want to stop the bleeding. We want to make more money, but then we need to make the business into freedom. We want you to have freedom. You don't have to be killing yourself to own a profitable business. So it becomes, let's fix the finances and let's give you some freedom. That doesn't mean you're retiring or selling the business, but you want to get it to where you could sell the business. Like me, I sold my business in less than 2 months. 6 weeks to be exact. From the time I got an offer to the time we closed was 6 weeks. It's unheard of. Unheard of. That's how fast it went. Everything was working. There was no due diligence that came up wrong. Everything checked out. So I sold fast. Now, had I been 10 years earlier, wasn't quite as flowing, but probably would have taken 3 or 4 months to sell it, but that's how fast it is. So pick up the mouse, click stopworkingbroke.com, schedule with me. Let's get your business ready to sell and hold it forever or sell it. Doesn't matter to me. And so, guys, that's our time here at the podcast. Love you. See you soon.